There are many worlds, folded, intersected, connected to, and separate from. But what if we could interact with these other worlds? For better or worse? Starting from Scratch by Robert Sheckley. Read by Karl. Last night I had a very strange dream. I dreamed that a voice said to me, "Excuse me for interrupting your previous dream, but I have an urgent problem, and only you can help me with it." I dreamed that I reply, "No apologies are necessary. It wasn't that good of a dream. If I can help you in any way, only you can help," the voice said. "Otherwise, I and all my people are doomed." "Christ," I said. His name was Froka. He was a member of a very ancient race. They had lived since time immemorial in a broad valley surrounded by gigantic mountains. They were a peaceful people, and they had, in the course of time, produced some outstanding artists. Their laws were exemplary, and they brought their children up in a loving and permissive manner. Though a few of them tended to engage in drunkenness, they'd even known an occasional murderer, they considered themselves good and respectable sentient beings who... And interrupted. "Look here, can't you get straight to the urgent problem?" Froka apologized for being long-winded, but explained in his world the standard form for supplications, including a lengthy statement about the moral righteousness of this supplicant. "Okay," I told him, "let's get to the problem." Froka took a deep breath and began. He told me that about 100 years ago, as they reckoned time, an enormous reddish yellow shaft had descended from the skies, landing close to the statue of the unknown god in the front of the city hall of the third largest city. The shaft was imperfectly cylindrical and about 2 miles in diameter. It descended upward beyond the reach of their instruments and in defiance of all natural laws. They tested and found the shaft was impervious to cold, heat, bacteria, proton bombardment, and in fact anything else they could think of. It stood there, motionless and incredible, for precisely 5 months, 19 hours, and 6 minutes. Then, for no reason at all, the shaft began to move in a north-northwesterly direction. Its mean speed was 78,881 miles per hour, as they reckoned speed. It cut a gash 183,223 miles long by 2.11 miles wide, and then disappeared. A symposium of scientific authorities could reach no conclusion about this event. The finders declared that it was inexplicable, unique, and unlikely ever to be duplicated. But it did happen again, a month later, and this time in the capital. This time the cylinder moved a total of 820,331 miles in seemingly erratic patterns. Property damage was incalculable. Several thousand lives were lost. 2 months and a day after that, the shaft returned again, affecting all 3 major cities. By this time, everyone was aware that not only their individual lives, but their entire civilization, their very existence as a race, was threatened by some unknown and perhaps unknowable phenomenon. This knowledge resulted in a widespread despair among the general populace. There was a rapid alteration between hysteria and apathy. The forced assault took place in the wastelands to the east of the capital, where real damage was minimal. Nevertheless, this time there was mass panic, which resulted in a frightening number of deaths by suicide. The situation was desperate. Now the pseudosciences were brought into the struggle alongside the sciences. No hope was sustained, no theory was discounted, whether it be biochemist, palmist, or astronomer. Not even the most outlandish conception could be disregarded, especially after the terrible summer night in which the beautiful ancient city of Raz and its 2 suburbs were completely annihilated. "Excuse me," I said. "Sorry to hear you've had all this trouble, but I don't see what it has to do with me." "I was just coming to that," the voice said. "Then continue," I said, "but I would advise you to hurry up, because I think I'm going to wake up soon." "My own part in this is rather difficult to explain," Froka continued. "I am by profession a certified public accountant, but as a hobby I dabble in various techniques for extending mental perception. Recently I have been experimenting with a chemical compound which we call cola, which frequently causes states of deep illumination." "We have similar compounds," I told him. "Then you understand." "Well, voyaging, use that term?" "Under the influence, so to speak, I obtained a knowledge, a completely far-out understanding, but it's so difficult to explain." "Go on," I broke him impatiently. "Get to the heart of it." "Well," the voice said, I realized that my world consists upon many levels, atomic, subatomic, vibrationally planes, an infinity of levels of reality, all of which are also parts of other levels of existence. I know about that, I said excitedly. I recently realized the same thing about my world. So it was apparent to me, Fruka went on, that one of our levels was being disturbed. Could you be a little more specific? I said. My own feeling is that my world is experiencing intrusion on a molecular level. Wild, I told him. But have you been able to trace down the intrusion? I think I have, said the voice, but I have no proof. All of this is pure intuition. I believe in intuition myself, I told him. Tell me what you found out. Well, sir, the voice said hesitantly, I've come to realize, intuitively, that my world is a microscopic parasite of you. Say it straight. All right. I discovered that in one aspect, on one plane of reality, my world exists between the second and third knuckles of your left hand. It has existed there for millions of years, which are minutes to you. I cannot prove this, of course. I'm certainly not accusing you. That's okay, I told him. You see, your world is located between the second and third knuckles of my left hand. All right, what can I do about it? Well, sir, my guess is that recently you have begun scratching in the area of my world. Scratching? I think so. You think the great destructive reddish shaft is one of my fingers? Precisely. You want me to stop scratching? Only near that spot, the voice said hastily. It's an embarrassing request to make, and I make it only in hopes of saving my world from utter destruction. And I apologize. Don't bother apologizing, I said. Sentient creatures should be ashamed of nothing. It's kind of you to say so, the voice said. We are non-human, you know, and parasites. We have no claim on you. All sentient creatures should stick together, I told him. You have my word I will never again, so long as I live, scratch between the first and second knuckles of my left hand. The second and third knuckles, he reminded me. I'll not scratch between any of the knuckles of my left hand. That is a solemn pledge, and I promise I will keep as long as I have breath. Sir, said the voice, you have saved my world. No thanks could be sufficient, but I thank you nevertheless. Don't mention it, I said. Then the voice went away, and I woke up. As soon as I remembered the dream, I put a band-aid across the knuckles of my left hand. I have ignored various itches in that area, not even washed my left hand. I have worn this band-aid for a week. At the end of next week, I'm going to take off the band-aid. Figure that should give them 20 or 30 billion years of their reckon time, which ought to be long enough for any race. But it isn't my problem. The problem is that lately I've begun to have some unpleasant intuitions about the earthquakes along the San Andreas Fault and the renewed volcanic activity in central Mexico. I mean, it's all coming together, and I'm scared. So look, excuse me for interrupting your previous dream, but I have these urgent problems that only you can help me with. The end.